Dan. It's so great to see you.
It's
That
great
was
to
like
be here.
millions of years ago. It feels like millions of light
It,
years away.
it feels like yesterday for you, April. For yesterday for you and me. Yes. Like
Well,
we
There
never
you go.
left.
Absolutely. And I'm
Yeah.
sure she was just as tough on you as she is on anybody. She's
Yeah, she
unrelenting.
absolutely. I have the scars to prove it. She is
Right.
a fair-minded journalist. Came
thank you.
after us when we deserved it.
You
Thank
know, Dan, today is not only Donald Trump's birthday, it is not only the 250th anniversary of the Army, it is the anniversary, the 11th anniversary of that great Obama scandal, the tan suit.
Oh no. Oh no.
I mean, this is what these people got themselves in a lather about.
Yeah.
And now we have this. Let me get us back to Earth One.
Yeah.
If you guys were still in the White House and two people were assassinated, two others were attempted to be assassinated, would the president be out there speaking to the country? I mean, what kind of world are we in?
Well, we certainly would have canceled the taxpayer-funded insecurity fest birthday parade we were having, and the president
Yes.
absolutely would speak to it. And there was a similar moment early in Obama's presidency when Representative Gabby Giffords
Yes.
was shot, and there was a gunman at an event of hers in Arizona, and
Yes.
the president spoke to the country about it. He went to Arizona to visit her at her bedside, and then used the State of the Union that was later that week, if I remember correctly, to talk about as a moment where we could all lower political tensions and try to get back to the idea that we as American people, put the political parties aside, but we as the American people have more in common than we have different. And the
Right.
people really do expect from their president in moments like these to
Mm.
speak to them. It's something that my old friend David Axelrod, who works in the White House, used to say. It's the pastoral role of the president to speak to them, whether
Yes.
that is, and that is both parties, whether that's George W. Bush after 9/11, Ronald Reagan after the Challenger, Bill Clinton after the Oklahoma City bombing, Obama after Sandy Hook, like in these moments to speak to it. And that is something that Donald Trump has never done, has never considered doing, because it would require thinking about someone other than himself in these moments.
Besides, he's the one who's stirring
Yes.
the device
Yeah.
of this. Never in American history have we had someone who uses this incendiary language. You work with words.
Yeah.
Do the words of the president, the rhetoric, kind of the permission structure, that matters, doesn't it?
It matters a huge amount. And we've seen this with Trump and his words. I mean, we think back to in the pipe bomber who was sending pipe bombs to people who Trump was tweeting about on their enemies list, CNN included.
Caesar say
And right, exactly. But you also think about like, we don't know enough about this case to speak about specifically what happened here, but we
Right.
do know that the president of the United States has pardoned people who've committed political violence on his behalf,
Yes.
which put aside his words, but it's also his actions send a message that if you commit political violence on my behalf, if you do something to advance my agenda, to help me out, even if that breaks a law, even if it breaks the sacredity of even attacking a law enforcement officer or attacking a politician, I will give you a pardon, right? That's the true permission structure here.
Yeah.
Do we know that that's what happened in this case? We don't know that yet. But what he has done has that impact across the board. And that is why so many people thought it was so dangerous for him to offer those pardons as one of his first acts as president.
so Dan,
Exactly.
so Dan, let me go back those years to the tan suit and everything else about those 8 years with Barack Hussein Obama as president. There was a shift in the nation because we made history. And there are a lot of people out here who had a hard time swallowing that and digesting it. But now we've got the polar opposite. What do you see has changed? Because the normalcy of politics has, I think, forever shifted. What it looks like 10 years from now, we don't know.
Right.
But how has it shifted in your eyes, working from the inner circle and then within the Democratic Party to now?
Well, I think it's important to recognize, and perhaps we could have seen some measure of this coming over the course of history, of American history, whenever there is a significant advance in civil rights, it's followed by a backlash of some kind. in the election of the nation's first Black president led to a backlash, right? We saw that in a radicalization of the Republican Party. We saw that in some of the racial elements of the early Tea Party movement. We saw the threats that went against President Obama and his family. Just the way in which Republicans refused, many congressional Republicans refused to accept his legitimacy as president, because it seemed impossible that Barack Hussein Obama could become president of this country.
No, let's just say it seemed impossible for some that a Black man.
Yes.
Because a lot of times you guys never use that.
Yeah.
You didn't want to put race out there because it was such, it caused so much ire.
Yes,
that's
exactly right.
A Black man, let's say that.
For a Black man, and a Black man like Barack Hussein Obama, right? The idea that his background, you know, single father, you know, son of a single mother, father from Kenya, lived in Indonesia, all of those things, right? Not a obviously incredibly unusual background for a president. And then you add in, he's a Black man coming right after 9/11, all of those things was going on. The birth certificate, the rumor, the conspiracy theories that he was raised in a madrasa, all of those things. And we saw that backlash. And that backlash then led to a Republican Party that changed fundamentally and became, at its base level, became one where more traditional Republicans would no longer be welcome, right? I mean, the way to think about it is that Barack Obama's opponent, when he ran for re-election, is not welcome in the Republican Party of Donald Trump anymore.
Exactly.
Right? His opponent in 2008, not welcome in the Republican Party anymore, where John McCain's still alive, right? Someone who was trashed by President Trump. And so politics we're in the backlash. And the question we have, and that's largely why so many people are out today, right? And why they are protesting today, and we're seeing this, is the question is this a moment in time, or is this the future? Is this something we will look back to and say, this was the anomaly, this was the reaction to a set of circumstances that happened, not just the reaction to Obama's reelection, but the pandemic, inflation, circumstances around President Biden, all those things that led to Donald Trump coming back in this moment. And are we going to come back from this or not? And like, this is the moment. You know, I think there's no week we've had since Donald Trump came down that escalator like this one that speaks to the ground from the militarization, you know, troops on the street threatening to arrest Democratic officials, handcuffing Senator Padilla, the unrest in the Middle East, this military parade. This is either the future, or it's going to be something we look back on as a dangerous moment that we avoided. And I think the way we do it is from the people coming out today and showing that this is not who we are as a country.
Absolutely. Dan, the Democratic Party always looks for the next white knight. You know, they look around, they say, find somebody, get someone there. You know, at a similar spot in the George Bush administration, no one had ever heard of Barack Obama. He was nowhere. Do Democrats make a mistake in always looking for the next guy or trying to elevate someone prematurely, as opposed to building a movement, building ideas, and then letting someone emerge organically from that?
Yeah, I think we are always looking for the person who's going to save us from this. And we always look at a list of people. It used to be whoever was next in line. That's how it's been the last couple of times.
Right.
You brought up the most important point, is that after George W. Bush won in 2004, we thought, everyone in politics, Democrats, Republicans, independents, pundits, everyone else thought, what we need is a electable, moderate, probably a governor from a red state, someone who can win Republicans. And then 4 years later, we nominated Barack Obama from the south side of Chicago, and he wins a mass electoral vote. We don't know what the country is going to want in a Democratic nominee now. And it's going to change. What happens in 2026 is going to affect it. How Trump responds to everything is going to affect it. What happens abroad is going to affect it. And so all the people who want to run, I want them to be out there talking as loud as they can. We need as many voices making the case against Trump as possible, but we don't have to fall in love with any one of them right now. We can let the process play itself out, so we can see who really has what it takes for this moment to be the leader we need. It's not just electability, right? It's courage, authenticity. Do you have the ability to get attention in this environment and see who that is? And the odds are, you know, it may not be someone on the list of people we're thinking about right now, that someone's going to emerge in that period. And that's why we have the process, and we should let it play itself out and not try to pick someone early.
So Dan, I'm going to ask you this. I remember when President Obama left. I was there the first time when he left. He and First Lady Michelle Obama, and that crazy mess with the box. Remember that little Tiffany's box
Yeah.
that Melania Trump gave? I remember that. I was on the scaffolding because I wanted to see this shift in politics.
Yeah.
There's now a shift in politics. And today is President Trump's birthday, but people on social media are recognizing Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
They are putting his face out there. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's like, I guess, the Super Bowl. They call it Janet Jackson Day, you know, because she didn't get her just desserts, but deserves or whatever. But I need you to tell me, give us a little news. What is the president saying about this moment? Because I know he said, I could have never done that because y'all wouldn't let me get away with it.
Yeah.
What is he telling you in this moment? This very critical, deadly, racist moment.
Well, I'm obviously not going to talk about private conversations I've had with the president. I wouldn't do that back when you were covering me. I won't do it now.
Listening. Tell us.
Yeah, exactly. I know everyone's listening to this. Trust me, I know. But here's the thing I'd say you'll remember when the president left, he gave that speech in Chicago.
Yeah.
Talked about what his legacy was and what came next.
Yeah.
And what he said in that speech, and it's not about the Affordable Care Act or the economy or the other bills he passed. It is about a grassroots movement for change. And I haven't talked to him today, but I can promise you that he looks at what you're seeing with millions of people in the streets today, trying to send a message that he feels, and there are a lot of those people are in those streets are people who were foot soldiers in his campaigns, foot soldiers in his movement, and that we have to be the change that we need, and that the most important job we all have as citizen, and that's what people are doing today. And I guarantee you that Barack Obama looks at what's happening today and he's incredibly proud and hopeful by what he sees, because this is how we're going to beat back the authoritarianism, the danger, Donald Trump, the MAGA movement, et cetera. It's going to be with citizens in the street. It's not going to be, as Jen said, with some white knight politician coming in to save us. We're going to have to do it ourselves. And that's always been his message. And you're seeing his message like in living color today across the country.
Absolutely. Dan, thank you so much. Needless to say, we miss grown-ups in the White House. We missed your former boss in the White House. We even miss sane Republicans in the White House because, frankly, you need two sane parties because you can't have an existential crisis every time you have an election. Yep. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for Pod Save America, Pod Save Your Sanity as well. Not many a day. So we'll look forward to talking to you again soon. Take care.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Dan. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Jen, I missed the brown suit. That brown suit was fire.